Well, hello. It's it's been a long time. Well, I mean, if you haven't been living under a rock, you would probably know that, you know, I had all the excuses in the world not to be as productive as possible on my YouTube channel. So that's not on me. That's just the way the world works sometimes. But the good news is that I've been actually productive. I have not been slacking off. I've done a lot of things, and I would very much love to share them with you. I read about, I don't know, 6 or 7 different books, maybe even more, and I'm just gonna go through them like a list and just say what they were about. This is kind of like a checkpoint for me. I just want to say what I've been reading and what I've been doing sometime for, a couple months right now. And we'll see if I will actually do a bigger, longer project on any of these books. I would love to do for some of them, but uh, a good portion of these books are just not really that interesting, and or I'm just not that literate to talk about them, which I'll get to in a minute. The first book, which was actually a pretty neat book, these are, by the way, not physical copies. Some of them are not, at least these are what we would call a hard copy, meaning that you just take a PDF. It might not be legal, but sue me if you can. You just, I don't know. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I'm not gonna take I'm not gonna take responsibility for it. I paid for that PDF. I don't know if that PDF was bought from the writer, okay, but I paid for it. Okay, so don't come at me. The first book, which I turned into a hard copy because I just wanted to, flip through its pages, was A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Borges. It was a good book. It was a perfect book, I would say. I loved a lot of things about it, and I don't even know where to begin. The premise of the book and the way that I would love to describe it to you guys is that um it's about knowing whether being good or evil is worth it or not. Who decides what's good and who decides what's bad? And what happens when we are all morally corrected? And what does our government or our social contract to our country and our government expect us to behave like? And it basically just goes on this extremely beautiful journey for this character, which I forgot his name since I've been reading it for such a I I read it so long ago. I don't remember his name. Sorry. And I mean, it's not like you guys need his name anyway. But anyway, our main protagonist, whoever he is, he just ends up, going on this very interesting journey. His journey has also been translated into a movie of the same name by, I believe, the guy who did, yeah, Kubrick, I think. Kubrick did it. I think Kubrick did it at least. The same guy that did Eyes Wide Shut. That's the guy who did it. Anyway, the book is different. The version that he turned into a movie does not feature the ending of this book, and the ending is worth it because this is not a sad, tragic fable, as Anthony Burgess himself says. It's about just understanding that humanity does not operate on pure evil. There's no such thing as an instinctual desire towards evil. And it's very interesting because I don't want to spoil it, but the way that it does and the way that it says that, we just refuse to become evil after a point on is very interesting. Characters, all of them, are extremely unique. They are not at all background characters. We have zero background characters here. Everyone plays an important role. There is no padding, there is nothing of that sort, and there is actually a good amount of a dialect, I would say, that is just very interesting to read because when you're reading it you don't understand what it's about. It doesn't even feel like it's English at some point because it's a made up dialect of Slav English and like old English, new or some kind of a modern English, and it has some Slav elements here and there, and there are some extremely weird and not really all that cohesive slang. And during your read, as you proceed, you just start to understand what some words mean and what they're all about. Like I have read like when I was done with it, I refused to look up any of the words, and when I was done with it, for some days I was just using that slang in my day-to-day conversations as well. Like in my head, I was going through it, and I just love it when writers come up with uh, kind of like a dialect of their own. It's I think very interesting. I'm looking for a paragraph that I can read to you. So anyway, uh, this is a part of the book and it's interesting. So you could understand what I mean by the dialect. The Devochka sort of hesitated and then said, "Wait." Then she went off, and my three droogs had got out of the auto quiet and crept up horror show stealthily, putting their maskies on now. Then I put mine on. Then it was only a matter of me putting in the old rocker and undoing the chain. Me having softened up this Devochka with my gents kolos so that she hadn't shut the door like she should have done, us being strangers of the night. The four of us then went roaring in, old Dim playing the shoot as usual with his jumping up and down and singing out dirty slovos, and it was a nice Malenki cottage, I'll say that. We all went smacking into the room with a light on, and there was this Devochka sort of cowering, a young pretty bit of sharp with a real horror show grudies on her, and with her was this Chelovek, who was her mooch, youngish too, with horn-rimmed ochkis on him, and on a table was a typewriter and all papers scattered everywhere. But there was one little pile of paper like that, but what? But there was one little pile of paper like that must have been what he'd already typed. So here was another intelligent type, bookman type, like like that we'd filled with some hours back. But this one was a writer, not a reader. So, you get what I'm talking about. There's like I'm reading it right, by the way. He actually talks like that, but there was one little pile of paper like that must have been what he'd already typed. So here was another intelligent type, bookman type, like that with feel it with some hours back. But this one was a writer, not a reader. Anyway, he said, "What is this? Who are you? How dare you enter my house without permission?" And all the time his ghost was trembling and his rookers too, so I said, "Never fear. If fear thou hast in thy heart, O brother, pray banish it forthwith." So anyway, it's a good book. I recommend reading the book. Don't watch the movie. The movie is good too, but the book was better. The next book that I read, again, a hard copy, this one a little bit, you know, thicker than the other one, and this be, might be my favorite out of the bunch. It kind of might be, but I also have a second favorite here, which I'll get to in a minute. But this was just so good. It was just so good. It was the perfect thing for me to read, and I recommend it to everyone that is remotely interested in music. Uh, Mark Lanigan, Sing Backwards and Weep. This was beautiful. It was so long, as you can see, and yet it was not long enough. I like, I still feel like it has 43 chapters and like one epilogue, and there is one prologue, so I guess 45 you could say. And like the list of acknowledgements are also very interesting, people that he met, but there's a good chunk of people that he didn't meet, but he did not put in his acknowledgement page because I don't know, I guess he talked about those people, you know, to a good extent, and he just really didn't like to talk about them that much here. It was such a beautiful read. It's basically this guy, Mark Lanigan, in my opinion, my personal opinion. If I ever had to write a dictionary, like think about it, like you had a contribution to uh, a dictionary, like you had a contribution to Oxford Dictionary, let's say, and I had to define the word rock star, I would say Mark Lanigan. This is my definition of a rock star. The synonym would be Chris Cornell, but the definition is Mark Lanigan. He's not a saint, and he does not claim to be. In fact, his book is far from it. It's far from like glorifying the rock star lifestyle, quote unquote, or what the media gave you. It's mostly about his struggles with addiction, his struggles with finding fame and finding his sound in music and kind of getting sober and failing, like rehab, relapse, all that stuff. And it talks about what mentality the people in the 90s alternative rock scene had. It's a great representation of that. And this guy is actually like, he's the hero. Like, everyone, Chris Cornell, Lane Staley, Kurt Cobain, Scott Weiland, Joshua Holm, uh, all these different people, they all looked up to him. And he was there with everyone. He talked with everyone. He went through a lot of things and he saw a lot of things. He has a great sense of humor. He talks about the most tragic things that could ever happen to anyone's life in his teenage years, in his childhood, everything from when he was born all the way to, I think, 2007, I guess. It's everything all towards Lane Staley's demise. And it's beautiful. It's very beautiful. It has no filter, there is no censorship anywhere. He talks about everything as much as someone can, and he does not omit anything, and he hates his band's initial albums. He likes the last few much more. He likes his solo works more, and he also does not at all glorify the mess that he's in. And it's not really a book about him being like, oh, I had this beautiful life. You guys have to know. No, it's not about that. It's mostly about it's mostly about, I think, just marking down his life in history. And there was some good points, but mostly from what I've seen and what I've heard, it was mostly just bad. There's not much good happening in the first, I think, 30 years of his life. And the rest that is good, he just refused to write in his book. Maybe if he did survive uh, longer and he stayed alive, he would write more, but I guess not. That's the only bad part about the book, the ending. It's kind of rushed. He doesn't talk about like he doesn't talk about field songs. He doesn't talk about Bubblegum. He doesn't talk about Queens of the Stone Age, and he just skips to Lane's death. And that's like the only part of the book that I don't like. But at the same time, understanding that, he went through a divorce, there was a relationship somewhere that led to a marriage, and then it led to divorce, and that's not good. He probably just wanted to keep some privacy in there. There's also some good stuff here and there that he talked about. Some like he talked about Courtney Love, and he refers to her as a good friend. Courtney's a bitch, and we all know that. And even though he says that she's a good friend, it just goes to show how much a bitch she was. It also talks about, the relationships that Lane Staley had with his spouse at the time, if I do remember correctly. Talks about the kind of people that Chris Cornell was, Joshua Holm was, why everyone hates Red Hot Chili Peppers. Talks about what goes on in the music scene, what it means to make a solo record, how it would go up, how it would go down. This guy actually was the only man that believed in Nirvana before they made Nevermind. Nirvana were great fans of his. He was great friends with Kurt Cobain, and they looked up to him a lot. And he told Sub Pop that these guys are they're gonna make it big one day, and they just refused to listen to him. But he just kept telling them that no, no, they're good, they're great. I know something, and it was beautiful. Uh, Mark just, from I think that there was a point in the book that he said a doctor told him that I'm not gonna say who that doctor was because I think that would be a spoiler, but a doctor said that, son, have you ever considered the fact that maybe you're depressed? And he gave him antidepressants, and that was the only time in the entire book, like 30 years, that he says he slept soundly and he had a good night's rest. And I think so that, yeah, he was depressed, and he had every right in the world to be depressed. But he was he had all the potential to become the drug addict that he did. A good portion of that addiction went towards music. Like when he was a kid, from what I've understood, he started collecting all these different records and all these different albums, and he just started training his ear for hits and beautiful music. And there was a point where he was collecting, I wouldn't say collecting like loans, but people would buy TVs and they wouldn't pay the money back, right? They wouldn't pay the full lump sum of the money or things like that. And he was hired by the person that sold TVs to move the TV there. And he would also sometimes, because of his tall figure and the fact that he was uh, a rugby player at some time, at some point, believe it or not, uh, he was told to, collect the paycheck. And it's funny because if he did not fail high school, he would actually become a rugby player. But he failed because of one teacher. She taught family values, I think, or some shit like that. I don't know, family economy or some stupid thing like that. And she didn't let him pass, and he failed it, and that's why he became a rock star. So anyway, I'm just gonna read the prologue because I think that's the best introduction that you can get out of this book. If you're even mildly interested in 80s music, especially if you're interested in 90s alternative rock, you should both listen to Mark Lanigan and you should most definitely read this book. It's perfect. It's the best gift that anyone could give their, you know, uh, friend who's into rock music. It's the best gift that you can give to someone like that. So prologue starts with police. At first his warning didn't register, my mind fixated on the pinprick ending of the morning's routine, the relief from what at this point was only a dull aching pain. Police! The African cab driver whispered again in a thick accent, while sorry, so should have been police. The African cab driver whispered again in a thick accent while motioning with a roll of the eyes and quick hunch of his shoulders to look in the rear view mirror where sure enough, the three young guys following in the van behind looked like undercover cops, eager to beat someone's ass. Maybe mine. My 6'4" cross-dressing drug buddy, San Luis Simon, and I had just scored a bag of dope and a bag of coke, both of which I had thrown somewhat carelessly in my unbuttoned shirt pocket. I had a sack of new rigs stuffed in the front pocket of my tight pants, as I hadn't expected to encounter the authorities today. Now I felt totally exposed. Another 10 blocks across Seattle's Capitol Hill, and it was obvious we were indeed being followed. As the car pulled up just down the street from my building, I hopped out and started walking up the sidewalk, trying my best to act naturally. Simon got out the other side and, wearing a trailer park style denim skirt and with shoes that made him even taller, started to cut across the gravel lot between buildings, where out the corner of my eye I saw two guys tackle him to the ground. Not good. I was almost to the corner when a short young cop in jeans and muscle shirt suddenly jumps around in front of me, held a badge in my face, and said, "Hold on a second, buddy. Where you off to so fast, buddy?" Hands raised automatically. I did my best, full of shit, bewildered. "What's this all about? Look, I'm just going home." I pointed dumbly to my apartment building. "What's this?" he asked, reaching out to squeeze the drugs through the thin cloth of my shirt. "What the fuck, man? I live here. What do you want?" I yelled, I yelled while pulling away from him with phony indignation. In my head, I quickly calculated how sick I'd be in jail before making bail since I hadn't done a shot yet that morning. Sorry, I'll say it again. In my head, I quickly calculated how sick I'd be in jail before making bail since I hadn't done a shot yet that morning. Down the street, I could see both Simon and cab driver sitting curbside in handcuffs. Feet in the gutter, the entire backseat pulled out of the cab. "Okay, man, let's see some ID." In my mind, I saw my passport upstairs on the coffee table covered in crack pipes and the huge pile of used syringes next to it. It wasn't going to be an option. "I don't have it on me. My name is Mark Lanigan." The cop narrowed his eyes, took a hard look at me, and then said, "Didn't you used to be a singer?" After walking me back down the street to the surveillance van, he took a small black and white photo off the dashboard. A guy they wanted for auto theft and who looks something like me. He had me sign it with a ballpoint pen and then let us be on our way. So yeah, It's a good book. It's a good book. I recommend it. Mark Lanigan, Sing Backwards and Weep. It's a good book. The next book is actually something that you American folk, if you're watching this, probably do recognize. From what I've heard, they make you guys read this book as like it's part of your homework. You should read it. They teach this, and it's I can see why, and it's beautiful. It's a great book. I will get to why I think it's a great book. Harper Lee, To Kill a Mockingbird. Uh, from what I've heard, they actually turned this into a movie as well. I have not watched the movie. I don't think that it's as good as the book, but I mean I haven't watched it. Maybe it is. It's I would say that it's mostly about coming of age while also understanding how hard it is to make a change in the world that you live in, while also not giving up on that idea, not giving up on that dream. If you want to make a change, you should do it. And as incremental as it may be, as insignificant as it may seem, uh, even if it's a small step, it's a good one. And that's kind of about it. It's sometimes advertised as an extremely disturbing book. It's not. I mean, I might be extremely desensitized, but all things considered, I wouldn't call this a disturbing book. In fact, I think this is the most logical way to tackle some subjects that is told here. It's not dramatized, it's not romanticized, it's very plain and it's very harsh, and it is poetic in the sense that it does take care of its story and it does give it a good ending. It does wrap things up nicely and it does make you feel good. It does make you feel things, and that's beautiful. So that means that it's not as nihilistic as another writer on this list that I'm going to talk about. But at the same time, Harper Lee just refuses to romanticize things. Uh, there's a great representation of New Orleans, Louisiana, southern area. It's a good representation of that. In fact, I think that I heard the members of the NOLA music scene describe New Orleans like almost word to word the same way Harper Lee describes to kill him the the county that Macomb County that is inside this book. Uh, like it's almost spot on the exact same thing that the people from that area describe it as, and you can feel the music in this. Like you can actually feel it. There's topics of uh, racism, rape. There's topics of isolation. There's topics of coming of age, puberty to an extent where it's not weird and it's not that much of a focus, but it is there. Growing up and kind of choosing what everything is about, what is behind laws in the countries, what is illegal, what is illegal. It talks a lot about that. That's because Atticus Finch, the father of the main character, is actually a lawyer, so it kind of makes you understand what it means to be a lawyer and what it's like. Uh, the there was Charles Lamb, actually describe this book. It has stuck with me for a very long time because his entire everything that he had to talk about was this, just one line. He said, "Lawyers, I suppose, were children once." That's it. That's all he said about this book. But it's a great read. It's there's a point in that in this book that you just can't stop reading it, and you just can't put it down. Just flip through pages, page after page after page. It is long in length, like I think it's about 400 pages long, but it's worth it. You will enjoy it. It's like it's not made for a specific demographic, even though, as I said, it's kind of put onto this, uh, it's put onto this disturbing book category. It's not really all that disturbing. Uh, a Clockwork Orange that I just talked about, that one's more disturbing than this. And I dare say Mark Lanigan went through more shit than the characters in this book. I mean, they didn't participate in Mark Lanigan didn't participate in the cases that I say. He didn't participate in murder. He didn't participate in rape. None of that. He wasn't even alleged to do any of that. But the life that he had and the things that happened around him and he was aware of, those suck way harder than what happens in this book. It's not about that. It's mostly about reform, I would say. I would really say that it's mostly about reform, both on a legal and countrywide perspective, and as in a child growing up. It's kind of like the child growing up kind of parallels and coincides with the fact that America, United States of America, is also growing up and they're also understanding what goes on into some individual's head. They also understand rape, they also understand racism, they understand how the legislation works. They also reform these and make it better. They did not make it as good as they could because O.J. Simpson didn't get arrested properly. He didn't get sentenced, but at least it's better than it used to be. So I'm just gonna read like just a just a random page. How about that? I'm just gonna read a random page so you get the tone of it. I don't want to go all the way back there, but it's good. It also has a lot of southern accents in there, and aside from that, there are some obscenities thrown here and there. You might find the N word just passing around here and there. If you're disturbed by that, then don't read it, I guess. I don't know. Have you ever considered that Jim doesn't worry her half as much? Atticus's voice was flinty. I've no intention of getting rid of her, now or ever. We couldn't operate a single day without Cal. Have you ever thought of that? You think about how much Cal does for you and you mind her. You hear? I returned to school and hated Calpurnia, that's Cal, steadily until a sudden shriek shattered my resentments. I looked up to see Miss Caroline standing in the middle of the room, sheer horror flooding her face. Apparently, she had revived enough to preserve. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Persevere in her profession. It's alive! She screamed. The male population of the class rushed as one to her assistant. Sorry, the male population of the class rushed as one to her assistance. Lord, I thought, she's scared of a mouse. Little Chuck Little, whose patience with all living things was phenomenal, said, "Which way did he go, Miss Caroline? Tell us where he went, quick!" DC. He turned to a boy behind him. DC, shut the door and we'll catch him. Quick, ma'am, where'd he go? Miss Caroline pointed a shaking finger not at the floor, not at the desk, but to a hulking individual unknown to me. Little Chuck's face contracted and he said gently, "You mean him, ma'am? Yes, sir, he's alive. Did he scare you some way?" Miss Caroline said this. Miss Caroline said desperately, "I was just walking by when it crawled out of his hair. Just crawled out of his hair." Little Chuck grins broadly. "There ain't no need to fear a cootie, ma'am. Ain't you ever seen one? Now don't you be afraid. You just go back to your desk and teach us some more." Little Chuck Little was another member of the population who didn't know where his next meal was coming from, but he was a born gentleman. He put his hand on her elbow and led Miss Caroline to the front of the room. "Now don't you fret, ma'am," he said. "There ain't no need to fear a cootie. I'll just fetch you some cool water." There you go. Good book. What can I say? The next book that I'm gonna talk about is actually not that good. It might be the translation that is bad. Anyway, uh, it's yeah, there you go. You can see it now. It's Too Loud a Solitude. That's the title in Latin by Behomil Hrabal. If I do say his name correctly, hold on a second. Let me check. Let me check. Let me check. Let me check. Yeah, Bohomil Hrabal. Yeah. So Amir Ali Jaunpur, Amir Ali Jaunpur, sorry. He's the one who you know translated this. It's 120 pages long. I read this entire thing in a single day. It's not good. It's basically a book about a guy who's gone insane from the fact that he just lacks everything from a social standpoint. He just has no social interaction with anyone anywhere. He, oops, he does. There's nothing known about his background, pretty much. It vaguely alludes to the fact that his father probably had the same job and he's lost between books. A good chunk of the book is what I would say word vomit. Like he just goes on and on and on about some abstract references towards various different literature. Like it's almost like he's trying to see how far he can get. Like how many references can I put in a single page? There are instances in this translation, at least, that the footnotes are so damn long that there's an entire page that is just a footnote because of how many references there are. And I mean, I might sound hypocritical or might sound like I have double standards because I don't say the same thing for House of Leaves, but House of Leaves is interesting. This is not. This is not interesting at all. It's about just being at this extremely dull situation where you're supposed to do press books and the guy doesn't do it. He steals a lot of these books and puts them in his home where he fears that because of how many books that he has and how many books he has hoarded, that he might actually die one day because the books might just collapse on him and he might suffocate beneath them, but he just loves them so much that he refuses to let them go. It's not good. It's just I think it's like it's supposed to help people feed off of this fantasy that I'm such a lonely guy who just reads all day and maybe one day the same way that this book ends I might find this magnificent lady who will live with me in a house that has like no place to sit down. I mean, I pretty much certain that the woman that he talks about during the end of the book is a hallucination because it just sounds so surreal and so uh, abstract that it just there's no way that this guy didn't just start hallucinating. Anyway, that's it. I don't want to read it for you. There's not much there to say about it, other than what I just told you. It kind of, I don't know. I guess that on a lazy day, you could just start reading it and finish it in one go, and that's it. There's not much else to it. Next book is a masterpiece. I love this. I love this a lot. This book made me love this author, and I read another book of his way back, uh, like a couple months before starting reading all of these books. Uh, this one was the one that made me love this guy a lot more, and it's Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. If you don't know who Fyodor Dostoevsky is, he was an author, a writer who uh, lived in the worst time possible in Russia. And he has very nihilistic beliefs and nihilistic approaches towards different characters and different scenarios. Yet he does such a good job at portraying people's emotions. Like he, when you talk about nihilism, especially during that time, it's mostly about lack of empathy and lack of sympathy and lack of belief in anything ever. It's all about just, concrete materials, or like mostly some weird and controversial belief towards marriage or just life in general. He doesn't have that, but he understands both parties perfectly. That's the cool part about it. He understands both parties and he portrays them perfectly in his books. There's some things that people say about Dostoevsky, and they say like, he's misogynistic, or he's this and that and this and that. He's not that. Like, he's not really misogynistic. I don't think so. Most of the women in his books are not good people. Most of the men in his book are also not good people. Both sides are bad. There's no good person in there, and that's why I think I like it, because it's kind of reminiscent of Cormac McCarthy writing a book. There's no hero here. It's just, lesser shades of bad. And Crime and Punishment is the blueprint of a good crime thriller. It has all of it in there. Like, it's the blueprint to plenty of shows that you've seen, plenty of books that you've read, and for many years to come, I don't think that there's any form of literature that can beat this in what it's about. It's not about the crime as much as it is about the punishment. And the punishment is not being at jail. That's the good part. The bad part is living with the guilt that you've done something bad and what that bad thing was. It's it has a huge emphasis on what goes on in your head before, during, and after what you've done. Who's a bad guy? What's the moral behind it? What is the justice system about? Is it really about finding the perpetrator? Is it about bringing peace to the city that you're living in? Or is it all of it plus maintaining you know, a hopeful uh, d- attitude towards the future for the public. It's very interesting. It's very deep. I could talk about it for days and days and days, but I think a lot of people who are better at literature have talked about it much better than I have. I recommend this to everyone. I think that everyone should read Crime and Punishment. I think if you can't read Crime and Punishment, you should go out there and listen to an audiobook. I think that you should read Crime and Punishment. This book will change you. It will change your thoughts a lot. And I love Dostoevsky more than I like Tolstoy because Tolstoy has this romantic approach towards things. He dramatizes things a lot. He talks about them in such a poetic way. He expresses his ideas in a poetic way, which is why I'm talking about a book that I don't have a physical copy of. I just read the PDF, Death of Ivan Ilyich by Leo Tolstoy. Uh, I didn't like this book. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I know controversial hot take people these days, when you go and say, "Oh, I don't like Tolstoy," they're like, "There's no way you don't like Tolstoy. You should read it again. You'll love it." Death of Ivan Ilyich was, I think, 58 pages or 60 pages long. I could reread that as many times as you make me. I will do it. As long as you don't make me read War and Peace, as long as you don't make me read War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, I will read Death of Ivan Ilyich as many times as you want. Uh, what I don't like about this book is the fact that it has such a romantic approach towards death. There are many segments there where the character goes on this sort of like a Shakespeare uh, to be or not to be kind of monologue in his head, and it's not my cup of tea. It's just not my cup of tea. It's not that it's bad, it's just not what I like. The first few chapters moves more towards the fact that somebody died and this guy, nobody likes him as long as he lived. Now he's important because everyone is trying to replace him at his job and at where he's employed. And the fact that he wasted a good portion of his life and he did not have a good marriage and things like that, it goes to show that, oh, so we're talking about somebody who's kind of like a piece of shit from what you're talking about, and how his wife is not really mourning his death, but it just derails into from his perspective how he lived and why he lived the way that he did. It does not justify it. It doesn't justify it at all. uh he just says that, well, he didn't like his wife very much. He got married because of his social status, or that uh he didn't do this because of that, or he didn't join this because of that. He would rather play rich. He didn't have a good relationship with his son or his daughter, and he died very young. He died like before he hit 50. And I don't know, uh, especially towards the end where he was facing death, it was like just fear and fear and this that I don't know what's gonna happen. I've wasted my life, and when it's trying to sound like it's talking about something horrible, it just doesn't come off like that. Maybe it's a bad translation, but I just didn't feel anything. I've read Tuesdays with Muri, and I think that's a much better read than this. Like, that's a much better way of dealing with your own death than Death of Ivan Ilyich is. Or like you could just listen to Alice in Chains' self-titled. That's such a great album. The way that Lane Staley talks about his death, it's great. It's depressing as shit, but uh, I think that that's the way that it is. Ivan Ilyich just does not deal with death in a, I think, in a morbid way. It's mostly just fear, and it's fear of the unknown. There's some places where it just keeps saying that I don't know what it is, therefore that's why I'm scared of it. And like there's so many places that you could just go into this existential tangent. Like there are instances where Ivan Ilyich goes into this kind of like a more in peace scenario. I would love to see him talk about like how even though he wasted his life, he did enjoy a good portion of it, or how he does not regret anything. You could have talked about that, but you didn't. So anyway, what I do like about it is that it's 60 pages long and it has 13 chapters, and it is considered a literary masterpiece, and it's great. That's great because a lot of people think that the longer the book, the better. That's not the case. And Tolstoy is a great writer. It's just not my cup of tea. And I give credit where credit is due. I love the fact that he did not pad it out a single bit. It's a beautiful book, and it has inspired many to write better books and do better with their writing. And the other book that I read that was also kind of cool was Status Anxiety by Alan de Botton. Uh, it's just a compilation of different theories about how people deal with social status, what social status is, and how does perfectionism deal with it. You might have heard some terms like hypergamy. You might have heard terms like uh, social contract. I just talked about it, and like prestige or luxury. Uh, what does all of that mean? What does it mean for a community to spend more time on luxury and arts? How does that improve your social status? And how does that improve your social anxiety? How does that improve your status anxiety? What's the difference between these? It's a compilation of different theories and different heuristic approaches towards understanding why people are so hell-bent on having good status in social life. You kind of see it these days in social media, etc., etc. It's not much, but if you're interested in, you know, if you're kind of interested in the social studies or in what would you call that, psychology of the, social communities, I'd say that it's a good book. Mathematics of Love is also another book that I read the PDF of. It's also a good book. It was written by Hannah Fry, sorry, Hannah Fry, and she did what I would have loved other writers do. She basically de-romanticized love, and not in this sense that, oh, it's just hormones and it's biology. No, she just said that what is mathematically happening in your head that makes you more inclined towards marriage and love and sharing in your emotions with somebody else. And it's a mathematical approach towards love in general, and I love that. I love that a lot. That was a good book. It was only 100 pages long, and it changes your life in this sense that changes the way that you view marriage and the way that you view love. It's a good book. I recommend that as well. It's not much of a literary masterpiece, nor is it a great achievement in mathematics. It's more like applying mathematics to understanding something that the human nature just, needs to survive. And I think that it does a great job in it. It has helped me a lot, at least, and it's a practical book. It helps you a lot. There's another book that I think would give you nightmares, and it's way more disturbing than any other book in this list. A Short Stay in Hell by Peg Stevens. Peg Stevens wrote a short book about uh, a nightmare, or a kind of like a bad thought that I had a long time ago, and that was the fact that there is no heaven and there is no hell. If there was an eternity of any of these, it would eventually mean the same thing. You would want to die and you would want to finish it all off. You do not want an eternity of good, nor do you want an eternity of bad. It will all just converge into meaninglessness. And A Short Stay in Hell basically portrays that. It's not about hell, it's about just not even an eternity. It's about some trial of some sort that people are put into, and they're supposed to do that, but it seems impossible to do because of how uh, impossible because of the sheer amount of data that they are supposed to comprehend and supposed to just go through. They are supposed to find a book that, word by word, no grammatical mistakes, no typos, no nothing, describes their entire life, and they're supposed to find that book and give it. Their problem here is that what where they are stuck in is a place where every single book that can be written in human history using using the English alphabet is written. And there is a segment there that you know calculates the probability of it happening. The amount of books that exists in this plane is more than the amount of perceived electrons in our universe. Because, you have, I think there was a certain amount of pages, each page having a certain amount of words, and also, you have dots, exclamation mark, question mark, those stuff. Uh, So you have that, you have every page, and you just say that how many different variations of this can there be? And when you calculate it, it's impossibly huge. And there's only one book, or like one series of books, that describes your life until your demise perfectly, with no mistakes, no grammatical errors, no lying, no nothing. This is your life. This is your life story. And people are trying to go through that and find their own book. There are millions and millions and millions of years where people have not even found a single page worth of meaningful text, let alone uh, something that actually describes a good story, or story that resembles somebody else's life. And it just goes to show that you don't want to live in eternity. Things will go haywire really quick, and a lot of things will become meaningless even though you won't die, even though there's no money, there's no love, there's no hate. The, you you just will just go to you just will go towards meaninglessness. And that's why you don't want to have that version of hell or that version of heaven that you hear in different religions. It's a beautiful book. A Short Stay in Hell by Pick Stevens. I recommend that as well. So how many was it? One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four, five. 9 books. I read 9 books in span of 3 months. Plus, I had a college semester that I say college, a university semester that I had to take care of, and uh, I would talk about some of these at length, but I should see if I have the time to do that. At the same time, I will continue to play music. I will continue to write music. I will not upload it on YouTube because I would like to keep it a secret until I'm able to produce some good material. Like good as in they are produced, they are mixed, mastered. Uh, I would love to do death, and then I would love to do blues. Those are the two covers that I would like to do. I would probably improvise my blues video. And about video games, I don't know if I would do it or not. I'm way too busy for video games these days, but if I do, it will not be a continuation of uh, whatever the last video game was, the Nun one. I forgot what its name was. It just escaped me. Uh, Whatever it was, I probably will not do a video on that because I'm just not in the mood of, controversial stories of, Indica, yeah, I just saw it there. Indica. I will not do a video of Indica because I'm just not interested in the stories that uh, you know they talk about war, they talk about all the bad things that people go through them or things like that. I'm just not in the mood. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Don't hold your breath. Anyway, that's it. That's all I've been doing. Plus, I've been doing I've been working on two articles that I would love to get published. There's also an internship that I'm going through right now for this summer. These are good things that are happening in my life. There's not much bad happening. And anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching, listening, whatever. I think that I've been talking forever right now. I probably won't even edit this video. Anyway, uh, see you later, I guess. Bye bye.